Yo, friends, happy Saturday. It's been a minute since we did one of these. You guys are off the hook for quite a while there, but I'm back with another obnoxiously long video announcement update, and there's quite a bit to talk about, so buckle up. Camp Solana ended last week, and it was pretty successful, I think, all things considered. People seem to enjoy it. We got a lot of feedback from you, suggestions about different ways of doing things going forward, and we've kind of digested all of that, and we've come up with a plan. And we're pretty excited about this plan, to be honest. Initially, our plan was to move into, and in the near future, really, move to a new version of the game, which would share some mechanics, but also be sort of a bigger and better version of Camp. What happened as we developed that idea was it became less and less like Camp, and more its own thing, which is fine. But what really that needs is development time. It needs development time and testing, because it's so different. And so we're going to do that. We're going to give ourselves, quite a bit of time to get that together, not rush it, and make it great. In the meantime, though, Camp works. We know Camp works, and there's no reason not to run it again. In fact, we want to run it every week. Make it into a weekly gamified lottery, where anyone that wants to participate needs to hold a camper. The camper will have a small fee to be resurrected. Only resurrected campers can play. So if only 100 resurrect that week, there's only 100 in the game. If 1,000 do, if 6,000 do, you get the idea. And the jackpot is progressive. So it's based on the number of campers that have paid a resurrection fee and the number of campers that have bought items. So as you purchase items in the game, the pot gets bigger. So the more item purchases there are, the more campers there are in that week's game, the bigger the pot is. Also, the game itself would play out in a much shorter time, like 3 hours or 2 hours, maybe faster if it's a week where there's only 400 players. And that way, it becomes more of a short-term event. It's fun. We kind of consume it together the way that we did the last 81 there, which I think was pretty cool. We could see everybody's items that they had available, and we sort of watched in real time as FUD picked them off. So as this sort of weekly, as Camp goes weekly, that becomes just a regular thing. And we envision people sort of cycling in and out. Some people do it for a couple weeks, then they sell their camper, a new person comes in, and over time we get a lot of exposure to the mechanics of Camp, to the experience of Camp. And what we want to do is then take all of the mechanics of Camp, the customizer, the item shop, interactive map, the way of sort of like the marketplace functionality that we had, where you could check on the status of a camper, the ability to view the murders as they're happening, all of those things, and repurpose and reskin them, and even create animated story content the way we did for Camp. We would do that for other projects as a service, so that we could show them, hey, come check out. Friday night we're doing this week's Camp. Come check it out. If you like it, we could do that for you guys. We could build you something along the same lines. Doesn't have to be teen murder at a summer camp. Could be anything. But the underlying mechanics are in place. We'll tweak what we need to tweak. Make art changes. Make whatever changes are necessary. But sort of monetize all of that building that we did for Camp, and apply it to other projects, maybe even some that aren't on Solana. So, as a camper holder, you might be saying, well, why do I care if you're going to make, one based on another project? Revenue share is something that has really worked for us with Pen Friends, and we're really keen on it. and we would like to extend that to camp. We would like to monetize, like I said, sort of the format of camp and provide it to other projects, and also the weekly version of Camp Solana, a portion of that would always be returned as rev share to holders of campers. So your camper, which previously never had any sort of longer term potential utility, now, you know, this trickle that's created, and there's no guarantee that other projects will take us up on this. But, you know, also it's possible that 40 other projects take us up on this, and we would develop them for some kind of flat fee up front, and then also a piece of the action going forward where the project could potentially make a little bit of money each week, and we would make some money each week, and as a holder you would make some money each week. And the idea being that trickle combined with a whole bunch of other trickles ends up being something of some significant value over time. That's what we would love to see. So I think camp has gone from having a very short-term immediate future of Camp Solana Season 1 with the promise of another short-term Camp Solana Season 2. Now we've moved on from there to where Camp Solana has a medium, longer-term value, which is the next version of the game. But also it has this more short-term weekly version that will have some rev share generation involved there, and another medium-term goal or value opportunity, which is the potential of developing these other iterations for other projects. I think that's really cool. I think in general, you know, we never made any promises about that, but we like to do this. What we like to do is try and provide value, try and reward your faith in us. That's exciting to us, and you know, you guys will help us get the word out there about this, and over time, as more people play it, they'll be like, oh, this is pretty cool, I'd like to see this with the following changes, and then we'll make those changes for that project, and away we go. In general, everything that we do in Pen Friends, if you're kind of new to this ecosystem, that's what we try and do. We build things for ourselves, and then we tweak and modify and monetize for others. We've done it with animation, we've done it with generative animation, we've done it with hype, narrative, one of ones, everything. And now we're looking to do it with some game mechanics as well. And everything that we do from here on, same thing, right? We're trying to provide some entertainment, some fun, but also doing it in a way that makes it monetizable going forward and attractive to other projects. So anyways, that's the future of camp at the moment. Let's move on to Pen Friends real quick. I think the main question on everyone's mind right now is when rev share, and it's coming very soon. We don't want to ever say like in advance, like, oh, it's going to be this day, because we don't want people like kind of sniping, dipping in and out. But very soon. I think like camp, the mint of camp was disappointing. And if you're, as a Pen Friends holder, if you're like, man, we minted out, we're going to get tons of money from camp. No, you're not. Like the mint funds from camp barely covered the prizes. So there was there were no gains there. That's the bad news. The good news is that the item store did well. We sold thousands of items. So we wound up with 740 SOL from item sales. 25% of that goes to the community. 185 SOL has already gone into the community wallet. So it's a decent chunk there that came from camp. I wish it was more. I wish that the mint was quicker, more successful. But it became about, for us, we were trying to get people into the game. We wanted them to get in there because we wanted feedback. We wanted just participation, and we knew that for some people, if they're in there, even if they didn't pay, like even if they got it just because they owned, like we airdropped another one to every Pen Friends holders, anyone that, and same thing with Trippin' Apes holders. The idea was like, let's get people in because some of them may buy items, and we may earn some revenue that way, and that worked. And in general, that's why we think camp will work moving forward, both for us, for camp holders, and for other projects, because the simplicity of it, people like it. It works. And even though the cost of each one is low, it can add up. It can add up over time, and with especially with more active players. I don't think we had that many active players in camp. And in future versions, that active player count really could be 5x, 10x, you name it. So I think that it's still a solid contribution to the community. But I think there's a big upside there in the future. Also on the RevShare side, we have some SOL to add to the community wallet coming up here. And really, we're going to end up with around 680, around that number in the next RevShare. So it's going to work out to about 0.3. That's sort of the best case scenario. If you held the whole time, never listed, you'll be looking at 0.3. And that sort of brings us to, at this point, because we can't really count camp. I know that we gave all Pen Friends holders a camper. That wasn't really RevShare. It was something of value. Some of you sold them, some of you held them. I don't really know how to categorize that or how to quantify that value. It was something more than nothing, let's say. But we're not considering that part of RevShare. So camp, free campers aside, which is sort of just like extra value, let's say. Between the other two shares and this one, you're looking at 0.75 basically, so far. And, we would like to see that number. We would have liked it to be higher. We would have liked to have the marketplace already out there and earning. We would have liked to see, the income from camp be higher. But at the same time, I think it's a pretty solid number. We only started sharing in July, which was bear market time. Obviously, we've been in the bear throughout our RevShare time. And more recently, we've seen a reduction in royalties, which we frequently say doesn't really impact us as a project because we don't rely on them to operate. But 70% of those royalties do go to the community wallet. So it does impact RevShare. Right, so it does have an impact there, and I hope we see a change there, because it's really like the holders that take in our case with Pen Friends, it's the holders that take the hit there, and that's shitty. So that's between those two things kind of working against us. Also, as much as it doesn't impact us in terms of our operating as a business, where we're not relying on royalties, our clients do. Our clients do rely on those for the most part, the vast majority really. And so where we saw at the beginning of the summer projects kind of take a step back and say, whoa, okay, we can't afford to do animation right now, it's a luxury, and the market sucks. The royalties going away exacerbates that problem, because, it's not readily recouped now. Like for most projects, they don't even have another income source. So they're really just like trying to find, a way to slowly burn through their mint funds, to burn through them as slowly as possible. So to spend $40,000-$50,000 on animation, that's, if you could make that back in a couple of weeks of royalties, no problem. But if royalties are kind of off the table or severely reduced, and then you're going to be much more careful with your money, and we're seeing that. So I think that given the state of the market, the state of the royalties situation as it currently stands, we're reasonably pleased to be at a point where on a one SOL mint, we've returned 0.75 in cash at this point, and we should be well beyond one SOL by the time March 25th rolls around, which will be our 1 year mint anniversary, which is pretty fun. So I think too, it's worth mentioning that because of what's happened with royalties and what's happened with the bear and projects being in a difficult position financially, and putting us in a position where we either have to take jobs for less money than it really would make sense to, or just not having those clients as an option. That's where the marketplace plays such a vital role for us in our future, because we're not asking projects to even be involved, financially. We're just dealing directly with holders, and it'll be really interesting to see, initially with ABCs and OK Bears, what the uptake is, and if the uptake of that is quite high and we do well from those, then we may accelerate our plan. Our plan right now is to add one collection every month to the marketplace, and for that to sort of be like a steady source of income, both for the project and for the community. And what that's going to do is give us an opportunity, really, to focus on PenFriends for the first time since Mint. We spent so much time trying to establish ourselves as a viable business, and doing tons and tons of work for other projects, trying to add value to other projects, while not developing our own, really. Rev sharing, but a lot of the things that we've been wanting to do for months, we just haven't had time for. And now this feels like these things that we spent months working on are kind of wrapping up at the same time. And we're in a position where we have some revenue coming in, hopefully, significant revenue through the marketplace, that we can sort this out where we're just continually adding to that, but also finding a lot of time to develop PenFriends, to get back to all the things that we have been excited about doing for the longest time. Art upgrades, working in the customizer, gang organization, rap sheets, all of those things. We're far better equipped to do those now because of Camp. We have a working customizer. We have the dashboard is worked out. The bones are all there for us to do it for PenFriends, and so we're excited to do that. And like I said, and continue to develop for ourselves and then monetize for third parties. That's our very simple formula. Going ahead, we have some ideas about some deflationary mechanisms for sort of creating super villains as well, but we'll talk more about that later. I think that's probably it for now. That's probably enough of your weekend that I've ruined for now. But one of the nice things about PenFriends is we don't have a crazy Discord. So if you got a question or a comment, it's not going to get lost in the mix of things, because there isn't that much activity. So that's kind of nice. You get heard here. So I want to give a big warm welcome to all of the new PenFriends holders that came in from Camp. That was something that was cool to see. The Camp sort of gave an introduction, I think, in particular to Trippin' Apes holders who came in that way and decided to stick around and pick up a PenFriend or two. I think we have sort of been operating in our own world this entire time, and there's pros and cons to that. But one of the pros to it, I think, is that people just kind of leave us alone, and we haven't had some huge pump that becomes really difficult to justify or maintain. We just kind of just keep on this slow upward trajectory, and we're gonna do everything we can to keep that going that way, and keep growing these rev share opportunities as we go. So anyways, have a great rest of your weekend, and as always, Pen Friends for life.